Hello and welcome to Sidequest. This is our weekly video game show here at Geekverse. I'm your host, the Potionista, Dylan Musk, and I have with me the chosen Kirklin Patzer. I feel like it's been a long time since I've had you on Sidequest. Maybe that's not true, but my memory sucks. But either way, glad to have you here. How you doing tonight?
It feels like it's been a while, so therefore, it's always a good time coming
I think
on.
it was
I'm doing
Taylor,
good.
then Travis, and then maybe you the week before. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's a while.
which I don't know. I feel like it's not abnormal for you and I to just have a couple back to back. So whenever we don't have that, it feels like we've been longing. But no, I'm excited to be here. It's pretty
Thousand
fun
years of
direct,
longing.
So yeah.
Yeah, we have a fun episode. We're going to be talking about one of the Nintendo Directs that happened in this week's span, and then talk about some of the games we've been playing, mostly some Rebellion stuff. So that'll be fun to get into. Then maybe some other surprises along the way. Next week's episode of SideQuest is going to come out early, actually, because there's another Nintendo Direct this week on April 2nd for the Switch 2 reveal, I guess is what they're calling it. So we wanted to cover that a little bit earlier. So I think we're going to cover that Thursday night, maybe Wednesday night. So just subscribe to the feeds, and that way you'll get it as soon as possible. Other than that, Patreon, great place to go to support what we do here at Geekverse. You can get episodes early and ad-free up there. You can ask exclusive questions that we always put top priority, all that good stuff. So go do that. You can also leave us a review. You can join us on Discord to talk about whatever is going on, whatever you're interested in, all that kind of fun stuff. And yeah, what do we got right now? We have there's so much news lately, especially in like the Marvel world and whatnot. So we're just spamming newscasts. We have weekly geeks, but then like this week and last week we had just bonus newscasts on top of that covering Daredevil right now. I think another show Andor is starting up soon. Maybe that's later, a few weeks.
No, it's coming. We got
is
a
that
lot
this
of
week or
shows
next
coming.
week?
I'm gonna double check. I feel like
Okay.
it's next week. April's here,
It's in
and I just know
April.
everything's coming quick.
Yeah. Sounds good. So yeah, a lot of fun, exciting stuff. And how about, speaking of exciting stuff, we start off by talking about the Nintendo Direct. So this happened last week. Kind of a funny thing, or we knew this April Direct was coming, which was going to be more information on the Switch 2. But they said, here's this other Direct that's coming out, and this is going to be all about Switch 1. Don't expect any Switch 2 stuff. Lower those expectations. Here's 30 minutes of stuff. Ended up being like 37, 38, whatever. They're usually very accurate on their times, but there was a little bit more than they said would be in there. So we got not a lot of first-party Nintendo things, really just an update on Metroid Prime 4, and then just a bunch of indie games, third-party stuff, and then a couple even just Nintendo news things outside of actual game stuff. So kind of a mixed bag. Did you watch the whole thing, or did you just watch the things that I asked you to watch?
No, I threw the whole thing on. It was
okay.
It was a good thing to have on while I was cooking today.
Nice. Yeah. What did you think? Were you? I'm trying to think off the top of my head if there was a lot of Kirkland things in here, and I think there's maybe 2 or 3 actually like more indie things, but maybe not the big Nintendo things that we normally expect, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like for the most part, it was pretty, mediocre, mid tier, and then there's a few things that made me spin my head around and then rewind. What are they talking about here?
Damn.
Then, yeah, a couple of those moments. But for the most part, I feel like I'm always just so impressed by like the pacing of these directs. Like they just go from one thing to the next. There's a couple little blurbs by the gentleman, but I don't know his name, but he just says a couple things.
Yeah.
English translation, goes on to the next game, goes on to the next game. Like it just has a nice flow to them. So it's palatable, at least for someone that doesn't watch them all the time.
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, I had my list of the things that I requested you watch, but yeah, if I skip over anything or you want to bring anything else up, just interrupt me whenever you want. But let's start with a little 2-for-1 here of interesting things. So one of the things, and yeah, I'm not going to talk about every single game here. A lot of like RPGs, farming, life sim things. I don't really know anything about those series. I really don't have much information to give you guys on those. So as usual, I kind of pare it down to the things that are relevant to me and my co-host on whatever episode. So yeah, kicking it off here, the first thing that stood out to me was Patapon 1+2 Replay. This is coming out July 11th. Then also kind of pairing that with that is Everybody's Golf Hot Shots, which is just coming out some other time later this year. The reason I pair these two together is these are both Sony IP. These are like owned by Sony. If you look at the little blurb that they always have, like little like legal disclaimer when they do the trailer drop, the release date at the bottom, it's like Sony whatever reserve rights license whatever all that technical jargon, right? So this was really interesting to me to see these two games. Now, obviously you would maybe want or hope for like a Spider-Man or a God of War if you're a Nintendo fan, for those things to come over. Instead, you're getting some kind of random smaller games from maybe not those like big first-party studios that you think of. But this is still really interesting to me, and I'm just curious to see what more we get, because last year, maybe it was 2 years ago, whenever it was that the Horizon Lego game came out, that was obviously date and date Nintendo Switch release along with the PlayStation release, and I think Steam at the same time. So obviously those like the first time Sony in a big way put one of their first party games, I guess, not developed by first party studio, but a first party game, first party IP, that kind of thing, put it on the Switch. And now we're getting like a little bit more of that, it seems. So I wondered how much more we'd get of that after the Horizon thing. I'm not going to say like burst open, the dam and like everything's flowing through now, because this is like still kind of a small trickle. Like here's two random smaller games that are coming out here, but I'm really curious to see what more they do. And in terms of these two specific games, I've never played Everybody's Golf, or maybe I have on one of our streams when we do all these random downloads and stuff. Another cool golfing game. You can go play that if you want. Patapon I have played a little bit of. I've played Patapon 2, the remaster on the PS4. It was not really my cup of tea, but it's an interesting, weird game. So I don't think I'm really going to pick these up or anything. I'm not particularly interested in the games themselves. I'm more interested in like, what does this mean for Sony's plan? Because obviously they've been going hard on the PC stuff, not in date and date. And then they did the date and date with Horizon Lego, and we're seeing a little bit more of this now, even if it's once again like just kind of trickles. But interesting stuff nonetheless. But I don't know. Do you think should expect that like every Nintendo Direct, or is there going to be some Sony thing in there? Like, is it going to be that frequent?
I don't know if it'd be that frequent, but I like the idea, especially for these just kind of, I don't want to call them offshoots, but just more interesting, not mainline Sony games. I feel like Sony has like a good amount of just random games like that like I'm surprised that they actually came up with them, but there's just a weird era in the PS1 that they just released a lot of just interesting stuff like Parappa de Rappa, a notorious one.
I was thinking like Gravity Rush 2, which I just played through recently. I'm like, that would be a perfect Switch game, and I think a lot of those like Japan studio titles, like because they were kind of the more AA studio, and those are things that could run on the Switch or the Switch 2, and I feel like there's a lot like outside of like those big marquee Uncharted's and God of Wars. I feel like there is a ton of like those smaller games that Sony could get a lot more money by putting them on the Switch than just sitting on their like subscription service, kind of gathering dust.
Yeah, exactly. I don't see the harm in it whatsoever. So yeah, hopefully it keeps coming.
Yeah, any thoughts on these games, especially Patapon? What was your impression of Patapon?
That was one that made me spin my head. I'm like, okay, the rhythm game sounds interesting, but like as the trailer just kept going, they had me with the marketing material. It was enticing me with just the gameplay loop, I guess. Because it's a strategy game is what I got from it.
Strategy rhythm, rhythm. Like you're getting different troops, you send them out, and then you got to like do attacks on the beat to get them to march or something like that. I played it for an hour or two and then kind of dipped out. Interesting, weird game. Definitely has a fun style to it though.
That's fair.
Yeah. That one, and that's cool. So it has 1+2 replay, so remastery kind of version of the first two games. I'm guessing that'll be like pretty cheap, maybe like $30 for like both of them or something like that. So potentially cool little duo to pick up there. Go ahead.
I was just gonna mention another rhythm game here, since we just were mentioning it here, is Rhythm Heaven Groove. That was the title.
Groove. Okay. Yeah.
I don't know if you had that one on one you're gonna bring up, but this one, same thing. The trailer just had me. It looked like something that I just really wanted to experience. I have a big history of rhythm games, from my childhood, and this just looked fun. I don't know like how long that would last, if it's similar to what you just said, how you played like the last one for like about an hour, but this one has like a bunch of just series of different mini games, and it looked like, I don't know if it's like the same composer that did it all, but it just I don't know, it was clicking with my head really well for some reason, so I was enticed by this.
Yeah, that's a series that I think the last entry was on the 3DS, and it's always like there's probably one on the Wii, probably one on the DS. Like it's kind of a smaller franchise that has been around, has its fans. I know there's like always in Smash there's like a sticker for like Rhythm Heaven or something, but it's never a series I've actually played, so I don't have much info on this one, but I definitely saw some people getting pretty hyped for that announcement. So it's cool, and that seems like a good game to release on the Switch, like after the Switch 2 has come out, because that's what all these games that we're talking about today are. They're coming to the Switch 1. Presumably all of them will have the Switch 2 version, or you can just play them there with the same quality. But yeah, this kind of seems like, okay, if you're going to whip out like a Nintendo first party and like not even the final hour. This is like after the final hour. It's like
Yeah.
this is after the moon has crashed and Majora's Mask, like, and everything's gone to shreds. Like, yeah, drop Rhythm Heaven at that point. So seems like a good game for those fans. Moving on, Metroid Prime 4. So interesting. I think that maybe the main thing here is like still they dropped 2025, but no actual date. My theory, and I've mentioned this before, but just to quickly reiterate, my theory with Metroid Prime 4 is I think they're gonna push this as a launch date in the way a launch game in the way that they had Breath of the Wild come out on the Switch and then also the Wii U at the same time. I think they're going to do that with Metroid Prime 4, and that's why they probably don't have the release date here, is because they haven't obviously put the release date out for the Switch 2 at this point. And just with all the talk and rumors of like maybe the Switch 2 has like the most functionality and you can move around, that seems really good for a first person game. Also, like you can move like a purple orb in this game. That also seems like something that controller could have. So that's where I feel like maybe Metroid Prime is a good, like, okay, there is this first person version you can play on the Switch 1, of course, that's good to go, but the Switch 2 version has a couple extra bells and whistles, and that's why I think we didn't get the release date here. But otherwise, I gotta say, trailer was really, really underwhelming for me, and it kind of, I'm not gonna say it killed my hype for the game. I don't know if I'm gonna pick it up, but this was not a great trailer. I'm hoping that maybe they're saving some of the more sauce for like the Switch 2 thing that we're getting this week. Maybe they'll show us a little bit more in there. Although it would be weird to have like a trailer, two different trailers like a week apart. This seems like a kind of a odd strategy, but I guess if you want to inundate us with Metroid Prime stuff, maybe that's a good way to go about it. But yeah, I was pretty underwhelmed by what we saw here. Just looked a little stiff. Gameplay looked a little boring. That's like they're highlighting like, oh, one of the main abilities you can like pull a purple orb out of this statue and put it in this door. I'm like, okay, like, what is that supposed to get? Is that supposed to get me excited? So I don't know. Am I alone here? Did you think this trailer was any better?
Yeah, no, I was right there with you. I was really hyped to get gameplay for this, and it seemed like it was a really cool looking 360 game. Like it seemed like I was watching like a Halo trailer from like way back in the day, like a decade ago, and because everything in here, like it looks fine. It just doesn't look anything that's like blowing my mind, like a new era of Metroid or anything like that. I think there is things in here that seemed fun, but just nothing that really pushes the element and makes us feel like a massive jump in the franchise. So yeah, I was definitely underwhelmed. Even just like the story of what was going on, it's just like, okay, yeah, this isn't doing anything too interesting for me.
You are the chosen one. Like, yeah, very just okay. We've been here before.
Samus is the chosen one. It's like, well, she's Samus. Like, she's just awesome. That's why we don't need these answers.
Yeah, yeah, and they're like, you are going to scan objects. It's like, okay, cool. I love that. Which has always been a big thing with Metroid Prime in general. You're always scanning and whatnot. So I guess they got to say that. Combat looked, fine, but nothing too spectacular. And I guess the other thing too was like just the lack of environment variety for me. Like, I feel like given the previous trailer or one of the previous ones we saw, it was like a burning building. You're going through this building, looked kind of cool. Whereas the sizzle reel here looked like it was only one area. So I'm hoping that's why it looked very samey. But if it's just like this one kind of jungle area, I forget the name of the planet, and then like, eventually you go into facilities, I think I'd be a little underwhelmed. Like, it's always fun to have like the different areas where require you to have like different suits to get through there safely and all that. I'm sure there will be some different locations, but I just feel like they could have shown a little bit more here. But I don't know. Once again, obviously they're holding off for a release date trailer, and that's going to probably be the big spanking one that they slap everywhere, and you get a YouTube ad for it every time you open up any Nintendo video, all that kind of stuff. So that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping they were kind of holding back a little bit just so they can, charge the shot as Samus does and blast us with like a huge big trailer when they actually have a release date, and they can start building up the hype in that way. So we will see. I liked the new suit, the red gray. I assume it's red. I've never seen this before. The red gray. Or red silver version. It's kind of dark. I can't tell if it's gray or silver, but she has at the end there, which is pretty cool. It's very Iron Man-y, which is like, Samus, very similar to Iron Man in terms of moveset and whatnot. And so I think it's pretty cool to have that kind of version. I'm excited to have that skin in the next Smash game. Like I'm looking forward to that. So I think that was a cool part. But other than that, I don't know if I have much else to say about this one, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, me neither.
Yeah. Next one, this is probably quick, and I just had to mention it. There's this game. This is an out today. They always have an out today in these directs. This one was Disney Villains Cursed Cafe. This is a coffee talk-esque sort of experience where you have your little barista and you're selling potions. How original, Nintendo, selling potions. We've been here before with all sorts of Disney villains and all that. It looks totally fine, but I don't know. I just wanted to mention I thought it was funny to see. There's so many potion games now. I
Yeah,
feel
I
like I
know.
was getting in there like right at the right time, and now they're just everywhere. I see them all over the place.
Yeah, it definitely was reminding me of something I played in the past.
Yeah,
Good old potion problem.
yeah. Speaking of something you've played in the past, how about this game called Witchbrook coming out this holiday? I feel like
Oh,
this one is going to get you pretty hyped because this game pretty much looks like a top-down pixel art multiplayer version of Hogwarts Legacy, and of course, it's not Harry Potter Wizarding World
mm-hmm.
branded, but it looks a hell of a lot like that. This game looks outstanding visually. I think the gameplay looks super fun too. It's got 1 to 4 player co-op as well. I'm super hyped for this game. This is a game that's been on my wish list for years, so long that like I forgot about it. Like I knew the name, but when it started popping up on the screen, I was like, "Oh yeah, what is it? What is this game again?" I kind of forgot what it even looked like, and so it was good to get a refresher of it. We still don't have a release date, but it's saying this holiday this year. So really excited for this game. I think this is going to be a
Yeah.
banger.
Yeah, this one had me super hyped, and I immediately had to show Shay, and then she was immediately hyped. She was asking when it was out
Nice.
because this is by Chucklefish, which is the same
Mhm.
maker as Stardew Valley, right?
No, not Stardew
No?
Valley.
Oh, okay.
That's Concerned Ape. Is that guy?
Oh,
But
okay.
Chucklefish, they did Wargroove is the only other game of theirs that I've played. I haven't played the
Oh,
second
okay.
one yet, but they did Wargroove, they did Eastward, a game called Pathway that I know just has amazing pixel art, and then Starbound as well, which is kind of like a
Hmm.
Terraria like
Yeah.
game, and like resounding thing with their studio, the one of the top dogs in pixel art. Like their games look
Nice.
gorgeous, and the lighting always looks fantastic. So Chucklefish is a really cool developer.
Yeah, no, that's good to know. I totally thought it was the same maker as Stardew, just because not just like because of the
You didn't
pixel
tell
art.
Shay that, did you?
I might have mentioned it, but
Oh no, get her
it's not
hopes
it's not
up.
it's not a killer for it. She was intrigued by the gameplay and everything else that was shown, but just yeah, the pixel art and just like the UI and like the menu
Hmm.
systems, it just seemed very similar, which is a fantastic game. And her and I both played hours and hours of that one, and yeah, this will definitely be purchased in our household, maybe on
Yeah.
multiple consoles. We'll see.
Yeah, I think this is probably a day one for me. I
Yeah,
guess so. For anyone who missed that, the premise is that you are a young wizard or warlock. I'm not exactly sure, and it's kind of like a college town. I guess there's a college. There's also like a village and probably some wild areas as well. You're just going around this town. You're going to classes. You're getting better at your stuff. You're learning how to, I don't know, craft certain things, make potions. Once again, do rituals, do magic. You're hanging out with your friends. You're doing odd jobs. You can even like build houses, or I don't know if you can build a house, but you can at least like place furniture in a really satisfying sort of way. One of the things I really like is you're going to like an observatory and you're kind of studying the stars
mm-hmm.
and like constellations and whatnot. So I'm curious to see what those kind of mini games are like. And the thing that stood out to me here is that like from this trailer there isn't a single instance of combat, and so it seems like maybe combat's not a thing here, and it's more about just being a college kid and like learning and stuff. Normally games like I think of like Persona, it's like yeah, you're a college kid, you're in school, whatever. But then you go to dungeons, you go fuck up monsters for like half the game, right? So that seems really interesting to me. Like this game, I'm curious to see how this game does and what the reception is. If it doesn't have like a very active element to it, and it is more just like because even like Stardew Valley, you can go to the mines and like mess
Yeah,
up
true.
monsters and stuff, right? So this seems like a big choice, and maybe they just didn't show it here. But I didn't see a single thing. I went to the Steam page, read through everything, and like there's no mention of combat. So it doesn't seem like that's an element of this game, which I'm very cool with. I think that's a fun shift. But I think for some people, they might. I don't know if they might get a little bored with the gameplay loop if there isn't like that high octane element to it, to
True.
break up the pacing. So, um, yeah, that stood out to me. And then the other thing that I saw you didn't really see it in the trailer, but more so when I went on the Steam page, is that talked about how every character, or at least most characters perhaps, have like a set schedule. So like, maybe this guy like goes to starts his house in the morning, and then he like goes to work at the shop, and then after work maybe he goes to like the park, and then he'll go to the college for a little bit, and he'll go back home. And so it seems like getting used to those schedules and getting to know the people and what they're into. Some people will go to certain events, they won't go to other ones. There is like a full seasonal change thing, so that's very Harry Potter-esque as well, where it seems like everything is going to change in the different seasons of it. So I can't wait to live in this world. I'm
Yeah.
gonna eat this game up, I think.
Yeah, I was so just like dumbfounded when I looked at the just like the aerial movement on the brooms and everything. It just
Oh
looked
yeah,
just so
good call out.
beautiful, and especially just mixing it with the online co-op element to it. I just can't wait to see what extent like the online support is for this. If you can just basically do what you'd normally be doing, like just online with friends or whatever. So yeah, I was very impressed by this trailer across the board.
Yeah, that is a good point because it feels like it could be a game where I don't know. Let's say those seasons or like the whole year takes I don't know hours and hours of gameplay. Like I don't know. Are you just hopping into someone else's save with your character and visiting them,
Yeah.
or like are you all in the same world at the same time? Do you have to like start a save together and can only play it together? Curious to see what that's like. I mean, maybe it's a short, actually like a pretty short experience. Then you just play through it together. But it kind of seems like it could be pretty expansive, even if it doesn't have that combat like RPG element to it. So.
Yeah.
Witchbrook, that's that one. It's coming out, this holiday apparently. So keep an eye out for that. Probably the highlight of the direct for me, I think, is that game and one other game we'll talk about in a little bit. But how about a little bit of Pokemon Legends ZA? This game has had a couple trailers. And for whatever reason, it hasn't lined up nicely on like a Sidequest week where it made sense to talk about. So I don't think we've really talked about this game almost at all. I'm curious for you as someone who like plays a little bit of Pokemon every once in a while, like what you thought about this and if this is like grabbing you, if this is one you would consider picking up.
Yeah, I don't think it did a good enough job at, sinking the hook into my gills, but the bait the bait was
damn.
enticing. I was nibbling away
okay.
at the bait on the hook there. I played a lot of Pokemon X, like that one. So this is in the same city that was based in,
Oh,
Lumia
okay,
City.
cool.
So
Nice.
I was getting just a lot of flashbacks to that, and I played the shit out of Pokemon X. I absolutely love that game. That was like I got a 3DS just to like play a Pokemon game again, and that was the one that I got. So I played a lot of that one, and I don't know, like majority of this wasn't enough to really sell me on it, but there was some cool things in there, like the just the battling. Like I think it's a pretty cool concept that you can just move your trainer around. Like it's just so much more dynamic than I guess what the traditional games would be. I really did not pay attention to Arceus like at all, so I don't know if that was like a thing that you could do there.
Yeah, I think this is pretty much the same. It just seems like a
Yeah.
big setting change, whereas Arceus was more in the wilds, whereas this is in a metropolis city. But otherwise, it seems
Yeah.
like the gameplay is pretty similar.
Yeah, so like the Pokemon battling, like that all looked really, really fun. Yeah, just the way that everything's going on, like real time. I thought that was fun. But I don't know. Beyond that, there wasn't enough for me to like really want to jump out and get into these new Pokemon games. But yeah, I don't know. It was a pretty cool trailer.
Yeah, and then the only other like element of it that stood out to me is like they talk about how there's the ZA Royale. So when nighttime comes,
Yeah.
that's when like all the Pokemon that you've been gathering throughout the day, you take them to these various tournaments, and that's where the name comes from. You're climbing. You start at rank Z, and you're climbing all the way up until you get to A, and then I guess the game ends at that point. So simple, cool concept. I like that. What do you think it is? What would make you buy a Pokemon game day one, no questions asked? What would be
Yeah.
the selling factor for you as someone who's like, just tangentially into the series?
It's funny because I like was posing that question to myself while I was watching this trailer because just by the vibe of it, I'm like, yeah, no, I can't actually see myself getting into it like a new Pokemon game if they keep. I don't know. I don't want to sound too harsh, but just like staying kind of the same and like the same aesthetic and the same like mini like 0.5 increment of changes on like the technology or whatever it is. I would want to see like a full ground up like restylizing of just like different animation style. Not on like the Pokemon themselves, but just like like the new ones seem very cartoony, and I just want a different tone. And just a very, very new and intriguing concept, which I don't think will ever happen. This is probably the more like general audience focus. Like who am I to criticize them? They clearly know what they're doing. Pokemon has been knowing what they've been doing for all these decades, so they're not going to just change. But it would have to be something like really, really impressive. I'm not saying like a Pal World, equivalent where you're shooting guns or anything, but just I don't know, just like a really in-depth like survival system, or just things like that, like a brand new mechanics that you really would have never seen in another Pokemon game before.
Yeah, I wonder if we'll ever see that. I wonder if we'll ever see like a very ambitious Pokemon game. It feels like
a gritty
if they can
one,
churn out these ones at the current rate and still sell like record numbers, then why bother doing anything else?
Exactly right.
But we shall see. That's Pokemon Legends ZA, probably coming out in the fall. We don't have a release date for that one yet. A little bit of break from video games to talk about this new feature coming to the Switch, which is called the Virtual Game Card, which I found this very confusing. I had to watch it a couple times and like read an article to be like, what exactly is going on here? But this is essentially a new feature coming to the Switch and then also the Switch 2. where you can buy a game as a virtual game card. This is kind of Nintendo's idea to pretty much, I don't know, incentivize, like, yeah, pretty much like a virtual physical cart essentially, where you're able to share it, lend it to people. And then there's of course certain limitations on this. I think one of the reasons why they would do this just right off the hop is like, if Pokemon Legends ZA, I already almost forgot the name of that game. If Pokemon Legends ZA comes out and it's $80 on the store, or it's $80 at GameStop, like Nintendo would rather you buy it digitally because then they make more money because then there's not, the little bit of margin they lose in like having a physical box and like a cartridge that they have to physically make, right? And then they sell the games at the same price. So I wonder if that's like part of the incentive here is like we just want more people buying digitally because we just make like a little bit more money. Or I don't know, maybe the Switch 2, like I assume it's still going to run like Switch 1's cartridges, but like maybe they don't want their next console to have any physical element. Maybe they want it to be digital only. And so maybe this is them like starting to lay the groundwork. That's probably like a big galaxy brain thought. It's probably just like a little quality of life feature that they wanted to implement here. But to me, it seems a bit odd, right? Because it's like, this is a really nice, generous thing for Nintendo to do, and that's not what I associate with Nintendo. Like those are not qualities I associate with Nintendo very often. So it just seems like if anything they're going to like lose out on money because people can share games. Now there are big limitations here. One is you have to be in a family group with someone to share a game card. That's the biggest thing of all. To me, that's like, the biggest thing that I feel like I did not get from the trailer itself. Maybe they said it in there and I just missed that line. But in reading through it, so you need to be in the same family group, which I think you can have up to 8 people in the same family group. So, Kirklin, we got to get on the same family group over here so we can share. I want to play your Pikmin 4. I want that. I want that cartridge right now in my hands, and I'll give you Fire Emblem Engage. We can do a trade. But yeah, like you can't just share it with anyone or anyone on your friends list. So there is a little bit of that limitation there. And then, I guess the other idea here is this seems like a better alternative for previously. If you were a Switch owner and you had like a Switch and a Switch Lite, for example, you could, share those games between those consoles, of course. But there's always this weird thing where you have to pick like your primary Switch. So let's say you're the one you have plugged into your TV, that's your primary Switch, and your Switch Lite is your secondary, whatever they call it. If you want your Switch Lite to play any games that you own on your home Switch, you have to like ping the internet, or you have to be like online in order for it to check that you have the license for that game. And so this seems like, okay, well now you can just share the cart virtually, and now it doesn't need to do that. Once you've done that, then until the thing runs up, you have access to that game. You don't have to ping the internet. So good for people who travel a lot or on planes or otherwise traveling and don't have like access to stable internet. So that seems like a good bump there. Doesn't really affect me in any way. And honestly, this barely affects me at all. I'm not in a family group right now, so like I can't really use this feature, but maybe it's a good incentive to get into a family group as well. So I don't know. What did you think of this? Like, do you I guess, are you and Shay on the same family group? Can you guys share games with each other, or do you just use the same Switch? I think you guys have your own, right?
No, we just have the one Switch.
Okay, so yeah, I don't. Are you really gonna get much out of this?
Like maybe if we get the Switch 2, we still have the Switch 1, like, and you can do it like interchangeably that way, but yeah, I'm sure it'd be pretty limited. Like obviously you can only do that for Switch 1 games. So I don't know. I was pretty puzzled watching this whole trailer because it seems so goofy to me. It's like, yeah, we got rid of physical copies, but now we have digital physical copies that you can share around. So the whole video, I was just waiting for like, okay, well, like, what does this mean? Because I know Nintendo wouldn't just want me to be able to switch games around with friends like all the time, like what you've already laid out. And the limitation factor when it came in, I was like, oh yeah, that seems so stupid. However, there's probably families that have multiple Switches, and like that would be a situation when it's really beneficial for them. So I see the benefit, but this will probably not really affect me at all. However, as you just said, maybe we could get into the same family plan going forward, and like it's obviously nothing negative, but I don't know. It just seemed like they're bringing a solution to a problem that I didn't really think was a problem. But
right.
I don't know. I guess it kind of makes sense, and since we're just leaning more and more into the digital. I mean, everything's pretty much digital already. I still have a physical, play PS5, but I feel like I haven't used the disc for anything other than just watching Blu-rays or something. So it is interesting to see like another step, I guess, in that type of technology, like how we can expand upon it. But yeah, I'm more so interested in like if this is something that gets just improved upon going forward, and I don't know, maybe because in here too, like you can only have the game for like 2 weeks, and then it just gets like slurped back to
Yeah.
the other console.
It has
I guess it's
14
not
days
really,
of
yeah.
transfer time, and then automatically goes back. You could just send it again at that
I
point.
guess so, yeah.
And then once you've sent over a game to someone, you can't play it anymore. So you're locked out of it for that 14 days too. So it is as if you physically
Yeah.
gave them that cartridge, right? So something to keep in mind there. So yeah, I guess like pretty niche. I think for me, like I wondered if part of this is, I don't know if people know this, but like the voucher program they have where you can buy 2 games and you'll save, I forget what it is, like $30 or something like that, which was really great. I bought a lot of vouchers because it just saved me money overall. Like they're getting rid of those. I think they're already done. I don't think you can buy them, or I think if you bought them, you can still use them, but you can't buy anymore. And they also have already gotten rid of the gold points. So like on every purchase, you'd get some gold
Yeah.
points, whatever. Which it was small, but like I got after over a while, I got like a couple like $20 games for free here or there. Like knocked $5-6 off a purchase. So it was decent. It probably saved me like a couple $100 maybe overall over the course of buying things on the Switch. And like those things are all gone now, which I don't know if I was like getting rid of those, bringing this in. It's like, well, I don't really get a lot of value out of this currently.
Yeah.
And I got a lot of value out of those two things. So it's a little disappointing for me, but I think part of this too is just like getting ready for the Switch 2. They probably want to get rid of that voucher thing because they know they're going to make bank, and they'd make a little bit less bank if they kept the voucher going in the Switch 2 era. So I think that is naturally something that they'll probably bring back again late in the Switch 2's life cycle, because I think the 3DS had something like that too, like a voucher program, which they introduced like years down the road when like sales are starting to slow down a bit, right? So yeah, we'll see what happens here, but interesting, weird thing for Nintendo to do. I'm curious to see like how well it works for people. And yeah, maybe I should try and get this family plan set up, because could be pretty value. It is unclear though right now if like your older games get grandfathered in as like game carts. Like it seems like when you're making the purchase, you can choose if you want it to be a game cart or not. I don't know why you would not want it to be a game cart. You just have that bonus for no loss, but it's unclear if your previous games are gonna be in there. But it seems like every game would be part of that, like even non-Nintendo games, from like the reading here. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with that. I forget if that had like a launch date of when that's going live. I think it's pretty soon, probably, maybe with the Switch 2. I'm not sure exactly, but keep an eye out for that. The virtual game cart.
Yeah.
Yep. And next up, Marvel Cosmic Invasion. So this is a 2D pixel art beat 'em up. This is from Tribute, who did the TMT Shredder's Revenge game 2 or 3 years ago, and this is their next game, which seems like, hey, it's that again, but now there's 15 Marvel characters instead. This game looks fantastic. I am so excited for this now. This came out of nowhere and is like now one of my more anticipated games for the end of the year. And it's weird because like, beat 'em ups, I hate that genre. Never been for me. Never liked it until Shredder's Revenge was the first one I loved. And so the fact that their next game is just, an IP that I'm a big fan of is like, hell yeah, I'm absolutely picking this game up. Roster of 15. We only saw a few characters so far. We saw Spidey, Cap, Wolverine, Storm, Nova, Venom, and Phyla-Vell, also known as Martyr, also known as like Kazar or something, but I know her as Martyr because that's the Marvel Snap card. So cool to see her in there from like a random niche Marvel Snap character, and now it's like looks super badass. I always thought she looked cool in that game, but obviously they're not like moving around doing animations, but she looks sick in this. So I really like the roster that we got here. But yeah, what do you think about this? I forget if you played that Shredder's Revenge game at any point.
No, I didn't, but it was one of the monthly games on the PlayStation, so I have it on my catalog now. One of these days I'll boot it up.
Yeah, definitely play it.
I was so impressed by this trailer. I love the little cinematic that they had for it. I love the art style. Just like it looks so good with the colors and everything and the different characters that we've seen. You got Travis's favorite Wolverine outfit with like the brown tan. This just looks so awesome and just like lots of fun. Was it up to 4-player local co-op? Is that what I saw?
Yeah, up to 4-player, and then each
awesome.
character, it seems like everyone picks like a little 2-man roster, I guess.
Yeah,
so
that's so cool.
You do Wolverine, Cap, that kind of thing. You can swap back and forth between them at any time. So also that's interesting in the TMNT game, they had up to 6 players. So I wonder why not, if they have the roster, why they didn't, go to 6 as well here. But yeah, 4 is still fine. That'll do for most occasions.
Yeah, absolutely. But this just looks so fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they said 15 characters. We only saw 7, I think, as of right now. Who are your top picks? Who do you really want to see in here.
Ooh, I I would love like just a big, beefy Hulk-like character.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, uh, yeah, like we have Eddie in there, Eddie
Yep.
Brock, Venom, which is a big beef boy, but we could get bigger. We could do a freaking Juggernaut if we really wanted to.
Juggernaut. Okay,
Maybe the
I can see
balancing
that.
wouldn't be the best for that. I would also love to see like a new fast character too, like maybe the Incredible Nightcrawler just bamfing around. That could be a fun move.
That'd be sweet. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I definitely want to see a magic person, whether that's Wanda or Doctor Strange.
Or Magic.
Daredevil
That'd
for
be sweet, too,
sure.
with the sword.
Yeah, that'd be good. I mean, Thor, I feel like he'll probably be in there.
Yeah.
Black Panther, Ultimate Alliance, Marvel's Avengers, he's always just super duper fun. So I'd love to see Black Panther. Blade as well. I would
yeah.
love to get a
That's
Blade
a
in there.
good
I don't know if we will, if this is like cosmic stuff. I don't know if Blade's normally in that realm. And then I feel like Moon Knight would just be so
Yeah.
sick and could have a really fun
I thought he was
moveset.
in there, but it was because they were fighting Taskmaster at one point. It kind of
Right.
He had the hood up.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't see a lot of like big villain stuff. Like we saw Taskmaster. Some of the bug things look like Annihilus, I think is that guy's name, right? He's also in Marvel
Yeah.
Snap. It looks like maybe that might be the guy on the cover too. So maybe that's like the big bad of it. We saw some AIM soldiers in there, which I usually associate those with like a Wakanda villain. So maybe we would get Black Panther in there. But at least since we have Wolverine and Storm, like there's gonna be an X-Mansion level, and that's gonna be so fun. I can't wait to see that. And so you'll probably get a Juggernaut, at least as a villain, or
Yeah.
someone else in there too. So
For
yeah,
sure.
really excited for this game. Definitely gonna pick this one up day one,
Hell yeah.
and hopefully it comes out before the stream. I know you might not be here for the stream, but
I think it was
that would
after.
be a super fun one.
I think it was after. I think it said holiday of that year because that was
But
like
sometimes
the first thing that came
Nintendo
on
is
my-
weird.
That is
Sometimes
true.
holiday for Nintendo is like October or so.
That is true. I am going to be there for the stream.
Okay.
We've moved the date. Back a
Perfect.
week.
Well,
yeah.
Hopefully we can play this game together on
Yeah.
the on the stream. That'd be a super fun time.
Hell yeah.
And then my last one is Nintendo Today. Did you have any other games that you wanted to mention that I had skipped over?
Let's see here. No, I think
Okay.
we got them all. I always just chuckle. I feel like every single Nintendo
Chucklefish?
Direct, I see a Dragon Quest something, whether it's another
Yeah.
remake or just a new game.
Yeah, there was
Yeah.
the 1+2, or is it 1+2, or is it just 1 or 2? I forget.
1+2 HD
It is 1+2.
2D remake.
Right, because
Nice
3
long
came
term.
out in November, and like chronologically 3 is the first one in the canon, and then 1 and 2. So those are coming next, and they're bundled together for some reason. So that's cool.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say the Tomodachi Life
Yeah.
Living the Dream. That was like one of the weirdest things I've ever seen. I didn't know what the fuck was going on.
Another one like Rhythm Heaven that people were hyped for online. So
Oh,
I don't
really?
know.
Okay.
I don't know what it is about those two series. I guess that series has been gone for a while, Tomodachi Life, and it's got a lot of fans. So
Oh,
Good
that
for them.
was sorry. That was the other one I was gonna mention was Shadow Labyrinth. I thought it was just such a
was that the Pac-Man
interesting-
thing?
Yeah, the Pac-Man
Yeah.
one. Like not a type of game that I would have ever pictured from a Pac-Man evolution, but looked cool, looked dark, it
Mhm.
looked gritty, and I don't know if I'll pick it up, but I like that it was the thing.
Yeah, that was in Game Awards, Summer Game Fest. It was shown off at some point. And also, remember that the Amazon show, Secret Level? One of the episodes is like about that Pac-Man,
Oh,
like the
okay.
dark Pac-Man stuff. So
That's
you can go watch that with your Prime Video if you want
Hell yeah.
as well. But yeah, closing it out here was Nintendo Today. So this is a new app that Nintendo it's already out. I've downloaded it and checked it out. This is a Nintendo news app. So every day they're gonna release something, whether that's just a new update. They really, I think, tried to pair this pretty specifically with the Switch 2. They said when the Switch 2 launches, or like once the Switch 2 has been revealed, every single day we're gonna give some Switch 2 news update thing on there. So obviously that's a pretty damn good incentive to get people to download your app and check it out. But at the same time, as soon as anything drops on there, like Polygon, IGN, whoever, they're going to throw it on their website immediately. So you don't necessarily need to download this app at all. I will say visually, like UI of it's really cool. When you download it, it's like, which game UI do you want? Do you want Mario? Do you want Zelda? Do you want Animal Crossing? You can kind of pick your vibe. And then you can choose like which games you care about. So you can say, I don't care about Splatoon. And you can just uncheck that and you won't get any Splatoon news at all.
Yeah.
And so that, there's news things in there. There's like a little Pikmin like video or something. There's random things. So I don't know why do you think this exists? Why did Nintendo? Why are they doing this when there's other sites that do news better than they ever will? Like, what's the point?
Nintendo never ceases to amaze me with the unique ways that they like to do things for themselves, and they just like to be covering their own stuff, I guess, and just have their own fingers on their own pulses. That'd be my assumption. I don't know. We'll see how successful and glitchy the app is, and everything around it.
It seems pretty clean so far from my experience buzzing around it for 5 minutes. But yeah, I mean, I think that is definitely a thing. Nintendo really likes to be like, that's why they started doing Nintendo Directs, right? Instead of like being on a stage or doing other random stuff, is like they want to control the messaging for their games, for their service, for their brand. And that's why, like, rather than ever like putting their music on Spotify, they have like their own music app now. And that's why they're doing this. So like, instead of like social media, whatever site where you're getting like slightly biased version of like information, instead you can just come to Nintendo and get it exactly the way they want you to eat this meal. They're like, eat your potatoes first, then your broccoli, and then you can have your meatloaf, whatever. I don't know, it's a weird dish, but like they're so specific with how they want stuff, right? So I think that's part of it. I wonder if part of this is like, Twitter is just like burning down, and like people say they're leaving. I don't know if people are actually leaving Twitter, if there's more Twitter users than there ever been, but like preparing for that, maybe that's potentially part of the reason, is like, here, let's get another way to get information out there. For me, like, I feel like the cold, dark reality of this is, I feel like the stockholders were like, we want you to release a new app this year. And so they're like, okay, we'll churn this fucking news app out. I feel like that's like the thing, is like stockholders want to see, new product on the App Store. They haven't had one in a bit. Here you go. Here's a new one, I guess. Even though I feel like the music one was recently. So I don't know if that's a thing stockholders would want, but I feel like maybe it is. Otherwise, I don't know. I feel like this will probably have an audience. People will use this, and it's probably very low upkeep and all that. But I don't know. Kind of unexciting generally. I did find it funny, though, as I said, with the themes, really cool themes they have on here. Funny that this app has themes, but like the Switch still doesn't have themes. And I wonder if that's a thing with Switch 2. Maybe, they'll have some of these Nintendo Today type theming on there. Other than that, there's like a calendar where you can see like Nintendo Direct release dates, game release dates, that kind of stuff. So, it's kind of nice. But once again, I'd rather have a calendar that has like every game, not just Nintendo games.
Yeah.
So, Nintendo's going to Nintendo. I think it'd be cool if they had like one mega app where they have like because they have like a Nintendo NSO app. I don't even know what it does. I've never downloaded that, but it'd be cool if that and the music and like maybe their games like Mario Kart 2 or Pikmin Bloom were just like all integrated in this one big Switch thing, and you get like a little mini Switch in your pocket. But I don't know. Once again, maybe it's better for them to spread wide, I guess. So that is Nintendo today. And that was everything from the Nintendo Direct that happened a few days ago. Any other thoughts on this Direct, or should we take a break here?
No. I don't.
Okay.
I think we got it all.
Let's take a quick ad break, though. I'm going to go check my Nintendo Today news app, see if there's any good updates in there, and we will be right back. All right, we are back. There was nothing interesting on the app, so we can move on immediately. Kirklin, are you ready to overthrow the government and start a rebellion?
Always. Let's do it. Let's get
Always. Oh my god. We both have a rebellion game to talk about today. So let's start. I'm gonna throw it over to you. You told me that you've been playing some Sniper Elite 4, so I want to hear about how that journey is going for you. I guess the quick backstory for you is you've played Sniper Elite 3, really enjoyed that game, and then I've just been talking your ear off about Sniper Elite games for the last couple of years here, and finally you've jumped back into another one. And I think Sniper Elite 4 is on the PS catalog, right? So that's probably why you picked this one.
And also, Sniper Elite 5 is also on there.
Okay,
which
cool.
gets me really hyped.
Hell yeah.
No, I feel like I just haven't seen Sniper Elite 3 like anywhere. I can't remember if I had it on Steam or like 360 back. Like I played it and then I was itching to play it again just because I never finished it. And then you were just telling me about all your Sniper Elite stories, and then I just was scrolling through the PlayStation, and then I just saw Sniper Elite 4 instantly download. I'm like, I gotta get in there. So jumped into it, and man, like I love these games so much. They are so fun, and going from like an older title from 3 into 4, just made me like enjoy it so much more because of just I think the jump that they made from 3 to 4. Now like the base core mechanics of the game aren't anything different. Like it's a sniper elite
Mm-hmm.
game, you know what you're getting into. There's gonna be some slow mo brutal kills. That's why we play it a lot of a lot of us at least. Yeah, the X-ray vision and everything, but just like the little quality of life things or just expanding upon the maps. Like Sniper Elite 3, it had like a decent playing ground to go with, but I really felt like okay, you load in the mission in one area and you're just gonna like progress in that direction. Like it is pretty linear the way that you would tackle, even though the map is pretty open. It's very like it's not like you can do it like 9 different ways. Like it seems like it's set up
Mm-hmm.
for you to go that way. But right away in Sniper Elite 4, like the first mission that you jump into, which is like I guess the air quote tutorial mission, I was just so surprised on like how big it got like right away. Like I thought it was just gonna be a really small area, maybe like a cutscene plays, and then you get into the next mission, and then that's when like it really expands and opens up, and just like the new ways that you can kind of mask your shots or just other environmental things that are going on, definitely felt like a big jump for a game that maybe not necessarily has like a whole new jump in the core mechanics. And it also just looks so beautiful. Sniper Elite
Mm-hmm.
3,
Yeah.
I don't even know like the years of like the jumps of when they came out, but it just felt
I'll
very
take a
like
look.
deserty and like very similar color palettes were in this one. Um, well, it's a lot more coastal than I guess Sniper Elite 3
2014 then
was.
2017, so 3 years
Okay, 3 year jump.
separation.
It
Yeah.
feels so much more than that just for like the textures alone. Now it's been a little while since I've played Sniper Elite 3, so maybe that helps. But I was just really impressed by the look of it. I think the shadows and everything look so good.
Yeah, their
Um,
lighting is great.
Oh, it's so fantastic. I think it's like mission 3 or something. You're in like a jungle or like a forestry type area, and I was frothed at the mouth. It was just such an awesome setting to have. Just yeah, your super sniper soldier taking out Nazis in the deep woods. It was fantastic. So I've been having a lot of fun. I haven't played it in like a week or so, just because
Okay.
Shay and I got really into Split Fiction there, finished that one off, and then
Nice.
another obsession that I got into. But yeah, no, I'm excited to jump back into it. I'm really happy that I have Sniper Elite 5 on the like in the next in queue, I guess I'll say once I get through
Mm-hmm.
this one, and just to see how much more expansive the maps and the threats are even more from 4 to 5. Because you've played 4 and 5, right? Sniper Elite 3 you just haven't?
Yeah, 2, 4, 5 is what I've played, and
Yeah.
then a little bit of Resistance, the one that came out earlier this year, like the spin-off of 5.
Right.
Uh, and then I need to get back to that one. I've only done like a couple missions of that one.
Nice. Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think I'm on mission I think I just finished mission 4, so I'm on mission 5.
Well, yeah, what was the theme of that one? What was the visual?
It was like a dockyard.
The dockyard. I think that
Yeah.
might be my favorite one in the game. I really, really
Yeah.
like that one. I like the night setting of it. Like
Totally.
at some point, I got in a huge firefighting, like that middle big building.
Mhm.
But that one was to me like I feel like yeah, that game in general, but especially that level, sometimes feels like you're playing Minesweeper, where like I'm starting around the edges. I take
Yeah.
like a couple guys here or there, and I'm like, God, there's so many people there. I'm actually gonna loop around this way. I'll go take up some people on the edge, move their body out of the way, and then, like I keep doing that. I keep hopping back and forth, slowly chipping away on the outside, almost like I'm chiseling like a statue or something, like carving the level down from the outside. And then
100%,
naturally,
yeah.
I always get caught at some point, have a big gunfight, but then
Yeah.
I'll get back to it. Okay, keep chipping off people, and yeah, the dockyard, like that level took me hours and hours. I feel like, but it was
Mhm.
so much fun to go through all of that one. And like the sight lines, sometimes like huge sight lines, you got to really be really careful what you're doing.
Yeah.
Other times, really tight corridors. So I think that was probably my favorite level in the game. I really enjoyed that one.
I feel like it was the first level, honestly, where I thought like the whole plane area was like in the area that I was, and then I would just have like my binos out. I'm like scouting out guys, and then I just saw movement like way off in the distance,
Yeah.
and I realized that there was like a whole another section of like enemies and everything, and I'm like, man, I've just been like sprinting around like the area, like the edges, like how you already listed, like just chipping away the map, just shrinking it, and then I realized there's a whole other area that I had missed, and yeah, it's just so much more like expansive, and when you find like a really perfect I don't know vantage point where you can just see like so many different elements, and I'm going for like the craziest longest shots that I can get sometimes when I'm like, oh, I can barely see this guy, let's get for let's let's do the high stakes, 400-meter plus shot here.
Yeah,
if I
when your
can.
gun is like, no, you're not
Yeah.
even aiming anywhere close to them, but somehow it's just gonna work out perfectly.
It's worth it for the replay, and then I might not even be in that area of the map for like a while. It's like, okay, well, I just took that guy out, and then I'll make my way there. Hopefully,
Yeah.
nobody finds the body, but yeah, and just like the AI, it just seems so much better than
Yeah, AI is so good in those games,
Yeah.
which is something that really stands out.
And like I don't know if it's that much better from 3 to 4, or just because the amount of people that are like on the map from 4 versus 3, where it they felt like big maps at the time, but like there's really only like, I don't know, a handful of soldiers here and there. And this one, it
Mhm.
just seems like sometimes like I'm marking guys. I'm like, okay, I think I got them all. I wait like a second, then like 4 brand new guys come out of like another alley, and I'm like, oh my gosh, how am I gonna do this like really cleanly? And then of course I just like am a perfectionist with this. I like try
Yeah.
not to pull the trigger until I'm fully ready. And I really like the like kind of the setup before a mission, how you kind of have like a little area that you can move around, talk
Right.
to some NPCs and stuff. That was something that wasn't in the third game, if I remember correctly. And I don't know, it just adds a little bit more immersion.
I never
like,
talk to anyone. I'm like, I'm
No,
out here.
yeah.
Or I talk to the guy I have to talk to, and then I'm like, I'm gone.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes they'll like tell you like a little bit of like a side object, like I don't know, like some, you get those notes and like just things like that.
Yeah.
Really not crucial to the story at all, but I would mostly just get them if I happen to come across them. But yeah,
Yeah,
no, it's a fantastic game, and yeah, can't wait to see what they keep adding.
Yeah, dude, the stress moment when you're like, you feel like you've cleared out an area so well, you feel like, okay, I've got everyone checked off my list here, and then a fucking like car starts driving in, you're like, oh fuck, here's a car full of guys, they're gonna see these bodies I left everywhere, because sometimes those cars on like really long like cycles through the map, or like maybe they'll go out of like
Oh,
the actual
yeah.
playable area or something, and then come back in, so it's like hard to keep track of exactly where they are at all times. And they're
Totally.
moving a lot quicker than the people, obviously. So
There's
that
been a
definitely
couple
happened
moments
a few
when you
times.
just have to like think on your toes, like, okay, I can't wait for anything here. I either have to just get a good shot, blow up the car right away,
Yeah.
or like I'm having a full firefight here. And a couple times I make the right call. Sometimes I
Yeah.
don't make the right decision.
And you never really know. It's like, okay, I know I can like highlight their gas tank, and like I have different types of explosives that I'm never quite sure like with how armored a certain vehicle is. Like, what exactly do I need to blow this thing up
Yeah.
like efficiently without getting gunned down in the streets? So. Always a good time, but yeah, glad you're playing through that game. I think yeah, in terms of the map size and stuff, I think 4 and 5 are pretty similar. 5's maybe slightly bigger, a little bit more expansive, but I think yeah, they kind of maybe got into a bit of rhythm there. 4 and 5 feel very similar. The other map that really stood out to me is I think it's like the second or third map, the one where you're going through like the village area, and just like all the
Yeah.
buildings kind of layered on top of each other, kind of climbing through rooftops, going up staircases, kind of juking, dodging enemies, and like always there's somehow always more enemies in other random alleyways that I hadn't been to yet. That was a really fun section as well. And then at some point you like recruit the people up on the hill, and then there's like a full on gunfight happening in the city, and you're kind of running through.
Yeah.
Such a good time.
No, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, there's Sniper Elite 4. And I have been playing the other Rebellion game that just came out. Their first time doing something a little bit different in a while is a first-person game. It's called Atomfall. It's been out for a week or two here. It's available on Game Pass, as many of the other games are. Like Sniper Elite kind of comes and goes, but Sniper Elite 5 was in their day one, so there's obviously some nice connection there between Rebellion and Xbox, making a lot of that stuff easily available. Man, I've been thinking all day, like, how do I describe this game? Because it doesn't really fit into a neat little package like a lot of other ones do. So yeah, as I said, a little bit different. It's first person instead of third person. This is not like Sniper Elite games. This is not a Sniper Elite spinoff. This is a fully new thing, and it feels like that. And I feel like they've made a lot of really purposeful choices to make this feel different. Really, the only thing that like stands out to me as being very similar to Sniper Elite is that you have like your heart rate, and you got to like monitor your heart rate. And the higher your heart rate is, like the more inaccurate you are, and like your vision gets a little bit worse. But like otherwise, like there's not really much else that is similar. People have kind of compared this game a lot to like Fallout or Stalker a little bit. It's not quite open world in the way those games are. It seems like a somewhat expansive area, but it's really broken down into like loading zone chunks, which makes it feel a little last gen to some extent. And then there's a lot of like dungeons and things within that world as well. So you go inside a building, that's a different loading zone. So not quite as immersive as those games are in terms of the expansion of it, but it feels very similar in that you're roaming around this not really post-apocalyptic, but like a kind of an abandoned world that has like, bandits running rampant everywhere, and there's like a plagues thing, so there's like feral zombie things attacking you. It's like Dishonored rat plagues coming after you too at the same time. So it has that sort of vibe. You're going around looting things, uncovering mysteries. There's towns and things like that too, kind of completing quests. But it is a really, really interesting game, taking a lot of really bold swings and choices. I think one of the reasons why I'm like 4 or 5 hours in, so it's still pretty early on, but it feels like I've seen a lot of the map and done a lot of different stuff in that amount of time. I think the thing that stood out to me the most about so far is that I feel like a lot of games like this, like the primary verb, I guess you could say, is like combat and like shooting. That's like what the game is about. That's what like most everything is building towards. But I feel like in this game, it's actually more about the exploration and like mystery and like investigation and all that sort of stuff. And that's where I think the delineation is. And there is still a lot of combat in it. I guess you can kind of choose how much you want to do. I see a lot of big troops of army people, and I'm like, I'm not going anywhere near them because I'm not powerful enough yet. So I'll leave them there, maybe come back later, or maybe I won't. But yeah, a lot of it is just exploring these different areas. This is one of the few games where I'm reading every single note. A lot of games I start doing that, and then like eventually a few hours in, I like drop off, and I'm like, oh, I'll read this later. I'll read this later. I never end up reading them. I think that'll keep happening in this game because one of the biggest choices here is that when you get a quest, you don't get like a quest marker where it tells you exactly where to go. It's a lot of very vague instructions. People saying, hey, like go to this thing, and maybe when you see this thing, like turn that way, go that sort of direction, or like they'll just give you a very loose piece of information, and like maybe you'll get a point on your map that's like, okay, it's roughly in this area, but you're never going to have like a quest marker thing leading to like, oh, here's that box on the table that you need to go grab. Like you kind of have to explore and look for things. A lot of clues, like there's a lot of hidden notes. Like some guy sent me to go retrieve some messages, and the messages were very innocuous. They were like, there's 3 shipments coming on the 4th day of like this. And at first I was like, why would you send me to go get this? Is like a useless information. But I'm like, oh, I think this is probably for like a safe code, because there's like, 3 days, 4 boxes, all this kind of stuff. And I'm like, I have no idea where the safe is that I'm supposed to use these on, but I feel like there's something more going on here. And a lot of the notes are like that, where you're just getting like little hints, little clues. Things are organized really neatly. Like rather than having like a quest log, it's just like, here's all the notes that relate to this one quest. And so you can like pop that out and like read those notes again and kind of piece that information together. So I feel like and even like when the game starts, it's like you wake up, you're a character with amnesia, you have no idea what's going on, and you're sent to go find this place called the intersection, I think is what it's called. And like that's the only information you have. So you're going up around people like, what is this thing? Where is it? People are giving you, once again, very loose information. Go here, go there. Don't go there. I would not recommend going there. I don't know what that is. Like people giving you all sorts of different information. And so it's been really fun. Like that mystery angle of it, I think, is what maybe sets it apart from contemporaries. It makes it feel a little bit different than like a Stalker or a Fallout. But yeah, really, really weird, interesting game. I think there's a lot of dungeon crawling in this game compared to some other stuff too. Like rather than those expansive open world areas, as I said, you're going into like bunkers or different buildings and whatnot, and so you're doing a lot of like indoor combat and whatnot. I'm liking all that so far. I'm always looking around for notes and trying to find like different skill points and whatnot, because that's the thing too. You don't get like XP for killing people, for exploring things. You just have to find these little like, if they're called like experimental training kits or something like that, you got to like find those in the world, and those were what give you skill points in order to level up. So like potentially you could just not fight anyone at all, go get a bunch of these points and still level up if you're like super stealthy. Although the stealth, coming from the sniper elite people, the stealth is so freaking hard in this game, Kirklin, and I've leveled up like the thing that lets me crouch more sneakily, but goddamn, I am getting caught all the time. And I think that's just like, naturally, like first person stealth games are tricky because you can't like see around corners unless you have like the Dishonored lean, which this game doesn't have. But yeah, man, I'm finding the stealth so difficult, and I wonder how much that was like a cognizant choice coming from Sniper Elite to kind of just switch it up and have a different flavor of stealth. But this feels like a lot harder in that way. And then the combat, it's obviously like way less actiony as well. So like overall, the game is just quite a bit harder than I'm used to from their games.
It's no Arx Fatalis stealth, though.
Oh my god.
It's probably the hardest stealth I've ever experienced.
Impossible stealth. God. I want to play that game again at some point. I love that game. But it is freaking wild.
It deserves another rotation.
Yeah. Kirkland, pop quiz. Other than ignoring fighting games, name a bad game that has a dedicated kick button.
A bad game that has a dedicated kick button.
Yeah.
That's a tricky question.
You can't do it, right?
No,
You
I
can't do
can't.
it. There's no
Not off the
answer
top
to
of my
this.
head.
Dark Messiah, Deathloop, Weird West, Pacific Drive, any game that has a dedicated kick button, good game. And I think that's a new theory I have going on, and this game has that too. And man, it feels so good, especially how weak I am. These feral ghouls thing are coming to chase me. I kick them to like stun them, take out my shotgun, and like shotgun takes forever to reload. So I kick them, reload, run away, wait for them to get close to me, perfectly time my kick again, get my shotgun out. Really, really fun, really satisfying. And on top of this too, one of the changes I love is, like, as I mentioned, there's like rat swarms. There's also like other little creatures and things that'll swarm you on the ground. So if you use the kick button while you're looking down, instead of kicking, you like stomp. And so you're like
Ooh.
stomping these rats and other things too. Super satisfying. I love it. And like your controller just rumbles like big time. Like you just feel like you're actually doing it. So yeah, that's my new theory, the kick theory.
That's a good theory.
Yeah.
I'm like in
Yeah.
my head right now, just like fishing for certain games that I know have
Mhm.
kicks, but
Specifically a
they're all
kick
stellar.
button. I think that's
Yeah.
it has to be a kick button. Like the game has to really commit to the kick.
Yeah,
But then I think it works. So I still haven't had the
Dynamite,
opportunity
that's
to kick someone
another
off a. Okay, there you go. Nice.
fantastic game.
Yeah. I haven't got to the point where I've been able to like kick someone off like a cliff yet, which is a
Yeah.
classic like Deathloop, Dark Messiah sort of stuff. But yeah, I'm excited to get to that point. This game definitely has a lot of survival elements. That's where kind of the Stalker Fallout comparisons come in. I would say it's kind of in between those two games, and like Fallout, you can kind of turn on like hardcore mode that like really goes hardcore with some of that stuff. Stalker is like very much a survival game. And this, yeah, kind of somewhere in between, like very limited inventory space. Trading is cool in this game. Rather than having like a currency, you just have to barter for everything in this. So if you want to buy that recipe from someone or that gun, you got to like, okay, I'll give you 3 bandages, I'll give you 10 shotgun shells, and I'll give you this grenade that I have, right? And so you're kind of balancing the scale to make a trade worth it for you. So I really like that. This game doesn't like pause when you go to your inventory, so you can't just like spam healing. You got to be really purposeful. Of course, it's got all those status effects like poison and getting burned and all that sort of stuff. There's a lot of crafting, as I mentioned, the heart rate thing. There is other things though, like you don't need to sleep, you don't need to eat other than like to replenish your health. So it's not like super intense on that stuff, but there's just enough of it. One thing I love too is you have like a metal detector, and you're constantly like, it'll like go off, it'll ping if you're like near something, and then you kind of use this metal detector. There's like little indicators on it. Go try and find stuff, and you like dig up these caches, which oftentimes just have like resources, but oftentimes as well also have clues to certain quests and whatnot. It's like, man, there's no hint to where this is, at least that I've seen yet. So the fact that I found this was complete random luck, and then it turns out that's like crucial for like a certain quest or something like that. At the same time, though, it seems like every NPC you can just kill in this game. So I don't know how the quests work. I think the idea is like you have one main goal in this game is like to get out of this place, and you can kind of, once again, with the investigation mystery element of it, you can kind of get there in all sorts of different ways. People are giving you different clues, but like realistically, you can kind of just do whatever you want to get there. So just a cool, interesting system going on there. But yeah, I don't know. This game is really weird and mysterious, and I just think it's such a cool, bold swing from Rebellion. I kind of was expecting something closer to Sniper Elite, but like more first person, and this is just nothing like that. Like it feels like a completely new studio, hot off the presses, with like a new, fresh new game, and that's so exciting for me. And as you were talking about Sniper Elite, like I think this game looks gorgeous. I love the art style. It's very bright and colorful, like a lot of bright blues and greens. Like the lighting is fantastic. The shades, the shadows cast on like the different bushes and things you're hiding between. Really, really visually appealing game too. Nice music as well. Voice acting's good. It's got kind of that Fallout dialogue, but it's a little more specific, and that like each of your things, rather than being like, I don't know, it's really split down to like how you want to come across. So it's like, do I want to be honest? Do I want to be prying? Do I want to lie? Do I want to come across friendly? Do I want to come across intimidating? You can kind of pick your different dialogue options that way, and then it tells you the line as well. So yeah, just really, really cool, interesting game. I'm trying to think of like who I'd really recommend this to, because it kind of feels like it has that Bethesda itch of going around to dungeons, finding things and whatnot. But like it's obviously like the scale's not quite there. It's a little bit harder. Like the combat is clunky and like what feels like a pretty intentional way. Everything feels very heavy and committal, which I'm really liking, but others might not if you want a more like smooth gameplay experience. So a lot of good quality of life and stuff here as well. So really, really enjoying Atomfall. Really, I'm going to keep going with this one. I can't put it down right now.
That's awesome to hear. Let's normalize where quest markers don't just like show you everywhere to go. You know,
Yeah.
I love that. I love when I get a description of where I need to go. It just
Yeah.
forces me to explore the world more. You know, and it just makes when you find that objective, whatever it is, that person that you're looking for, that note on the ground, whatever it is, just so much more appeal. Like, I don't know, just satisfying, I guess, than just following a quest marker. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that makes me happy that's in there. And sounds like it's a really cool game actually. With
Yeah.
from what I have seen, I haven't like looked too into it that much, but I heard like the voice acting is really good, and people are
Mm-hmm.
just enjoying like the choices that you can just kill like every NPC. I'm sure that could
Yeah.
ruin a run potentially, but who knows? Maybe not.
Yeah, it seems like there's a lot of ways you can go about, like, anyone who gives you a quest, like, you can decline it or you can just straight up attack them if you want. Like, you can just do whatever you want. So I don't know if it's one I'd like replay to see how things unfurl. Like, I don't know if that's the kind of game it is, but more so
Yeah.
just like every problem kind of thrown at you at these given times. So yeah, I'm really really impressed with this one. I'm gonna keep going with it. Yeah, once again, it's on Game Pass, so go check it out right now. I will report back on it. And how about we take our last break of the show? We'll be right back for a couple more games we've been playing. All right, we are back. Kirklin, tell me about what you've been playing other than Sniper Elite.
Yeah. Well, I think last time I was on here was when I was talking to you about Split Fiction, so I'll close that chapter here. Shay and I have since completed the game.
Nice.
I want to say it was like around 14 hours, maybe, of like total
Okay.
time. Maybe a little bit less.
Was that including the side quest stuff that's optional?
We found out after the fact that there was a couple side quests that we missed because you just kind of come across them on the mission, and then
Right.
when we were looking through the chapters, there were just a couple that were blank, so we clearly missed a couple zones. So we're gonna be going back, and because we're completionists when we play games together, we got to get them all. So and we also just love the game so much. When the credits came up, like the final battle, like you kind of know that it's the final battle just because of who you're taking on and just everything that's going on. We had that vibe, but still, like when the credits rolled, and it was just like, that's it, really? Like that game felt so short just because we were zooming by it so quickly. Yeah, there's definitely some worlds and just mechanics of the game that we liked a lot more than others, but none of them were like atrocious to the point that it was like a slog to get through or anything like that.
Gotcha.
And the final like battle sequence, without like spoiling anything, they just do some really really unique things with the mechanics. I guess one minor thing I'll say is in the game, in any of these games, it's split screen, right? So you have your screen, my screen. At a certain point, depending on where your characters are at, there's like a line that moves on the split
Right.
screen, and it actually changes. So if I'm in the north and let's say it's ice, and then I switch with you, all of a sudden it's like lava or something. So it's like moving as you're going along. So there's just a bunch of little things like that get thrown at you in like the final sequence of the game. And yeah, they just knocked out of the park with just the combining of the different zones, whether it's the sci-fi universe with the fantasy elements, the like the main like story of the characters. Nothing like too crazy. I was mostly in it for just like the game mechanics and everything. But yeah, the worlds that they made were just fantastic, and the dragon world definitely did not disappoint for us. We both
Nice.
loved that whole sequence. It definitely delivered. So highly recommend that game to pretty much everyone. It's not a full price game, which is, pardon me, fantastic, and can't wait to see the next title that they come out with.
Yeah, I think they're gonna just keep crushing these co-op games until
Hell yeah.
they don't sell anymore, and they're selling. This game's
Yeah.
been doing really well so far. Yeah, quick story from this game for me. So I was talking to Amber, and we were like, "Oh, let's play this game together." We played A Way Out together. Didn't play It Takes Two for whatever reason. I don't know why we didn't, but anyway, Way Out. We had a great time playing that together. So like, oh, let's do this. We were gonna play last week, and then both of us realized that we have just garbage internet speeds, so it like we both could not download the game in
Could
time.
just
So like, okay,
cancel
let's
each other out.
yeah, exactly. Let's download over the weekend. We'll meet back Monday night, and we'll play some of this game there. It took forever to get it to like work because I'm playing on Xbox and we're playing on Steam, like PC, right? Man, like finding a way to like get us to connect was such a mess. Just like can't just send a quick invite because you got to like add through EA Play, so or EA whatever EA account whatever it was, but you can't accept or like add a friend through EA through the game. So Amber had to like go download the EA app in order to accept my friend request, and then had to like close the game and boot the game up. Each time required her to like do the initializing thing where you got to like download the assets, whatever. Her computer sucks, so this is probably part of why it took so long. But all this thing took forever. The download was taking forever. And then like the boot up time took another like 20, 30 minutes after that. Okay, eventually fine. We're friends now on EA. I can send the invite. We start the game. The initial cutscene when they're like going up the elevator. I don't know if you remember back to the start of the game. They're going up the elevator. She's like starts laughing maniacally. She's playing on like the lowest settings, and she's like, "Oh, the jackets are just glitching out. Like they're flying like wings and doing some crazy stuff." I'm like, "This is looking good for me on my Xbox over here. Everything's looking normal." She's like, "Oh, this is crazy." And then like a minute, like, "Oh, my game is frozen. I can hear the game, but like there's nothing moving. That's not a good sign. Oh, my audio's dropped out. I can't hear the audio anymore." Oh yeah, my game crashed. And so we spent like 2 hours troubleshooting this. Just not going to run on her PC.
Yeah.
And like this EA thing was such a mess. So I requested a refund on Xbox. We'll see if I can get that refund and get my money back, because it's not going to work at this point in time. But definitely want to play this game after hearing you and Jessica's been playing it too and really enjoying it. So I want to get in there and play it at some point, but might just have to wait for another day. But yeah, I had a bit of a mess trying to get this thing to run. Freaking EA, man. I hate accounts. I having to log in with an account. I mean, for a crossplay thing, I'll give it a bit of a pass. And like, I don't blame Hazelight for this. This is like more EA annoying stuff, I think. But, that's just how it goes. But anyway, what else have you been playing?
Yeah. So, we closed that chapter out. And then my recent obsession that I've been going down the rabbit hole of Dark Souls 1. I told you on a previous side quest, I think I think
it was last year sometime.
I think I was like just stumbling my way through Blighttown and just hating my life, and it was horrible. And,
as one does, yeah.
Yeah, like I had confidence because I rang the first bell, and then I'm heading down to Blighttown, and it was just horrible. So that's kind of where I picked up the pieces. I don't even know why. I think I just randomly saw something Dark Souls related. I'm like, let's jump back in there and complete a Souls game for once in my life. And I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I think I'm on the cusp of completing my first Souls game ever.
Okay.
I am in deep in. I just finished Anhor Londo. Have you played Dark Souls 1?
I've got to the Crystal Caves, and then I said F this stupid game and never played again.
I completed Ornstein and
Smog,
whatever we want
Not
to call
Smog.
it.
That's the dragon. Smo.
That's the
Ornstein and
dragon.
Smo. Yeah.
Yeah. Which I've been told is like arguably one of the hardest battles, and I completed it in like I don't. I sound cocky now, but I completed it in like 3 or 4 tries, which like honestly that's pretty juicy. And I feel like
God gamer over here.
That's kind of been like the pattern of like a lot of the bosses lately for me. I feel like I just really got into the flow of just getting into a battle and just taking my time of like focusing on what their movements are. It might help that it's like Dark Souls 1, so it's like early in the From Software, before they make bosses that just make you want to just bang your head into a wall. It's just that brutal. Like some of them are like really like telepath of like what they're gonna do. Like you just know the 3 movements or something that they're gonna rotate in. So I don't want to say Dark Souls is an easy game or anything, but I just feel like now that I've gotten my ass handed to me millions of times now, I'm like, I can actually do this now. I'm gaining confidence, and I've just been leaning heavily on the great scythe. I feel like weapons with long reach, like a polearm or a halberd or something like that, that is very much my type of like gameplay in those Souls-like game. When I played a lot of Neo a couple years ago, that was what I was using, was a spear, just a big reach weapon. I've gone like back and forth of trying like a dex build or like just a heavy club where it just takes forever to swing, but when you eventually hit it, you just take them out. The halberds are a good mix of like big reach, big damage, but they're also quicker. It's made the play through a lot more palatable and easy. And at the end of the day, it's just like fun to use those move sets. The move sets are really, I mean, that's a big part of the game, is just finding a move set for a weapon that you really can just, align with well. And I am loving Dark Souls so much, so much. I've just been getting like deep on like, even when I'm not playing it, I'm like looking into the lore and stuff. And then, because I've never really done that before, and of course the game like doesn't really do a good job at explaining anything. So like, if you really want to know what's going on, you kind of do your own research, or maybe I just wasn't paying attention to it enough in the first go around. But for whatever reason, just diving into the lore a little bit more. And man, what a wild universe those creators have made. And yeah, I'm hoping this is just like a theme now. I can close Dark Souls 1, that chapter. I have Dark Souls 3 on the PS4, which everybody tells me is like the best Souls game. Of course, Elden Ring
interesting.
is a big thing going for it.
Okay. So have you done anything after Anne Orlando?
I'm heading.
Okay. I think you have a lot of the game left.
Oh, really? Okay.
What
Never
I'm
mind then.
saying.
Ooh,
That's where I feel like
scary.
you're thinking you're cruising into the end game here. I think you have like a lot more to do.
Okay. Well, then I'll report back and see if I actually.
Have you
finished or
been to
not.
those dreaded crystal caves yet?
No,
Okay,
no,
we'll
I
see if
haven't.
you're stronger than me. But that was
Okay.
some of the
That's
worst
what took
video
you?
gaming I've ever experienced in my life was the crystal caves. So.
Good to know.
Worse
I'm
than
worried
Blight
now.
Town. Way worse than Blight Town for me in
Yeah,
terms
Blight
of like,
Town.
yeah.
Once you figure out Blight Town, it's not even that bad. Actually,
It's not
just
too
like
bad, yeah.
going from where you are at the start to that. The game, like these Souls games, just do such a great job at just you get better, you complete where you're at, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can do this now. And then it throws you like a 10 times multiplier on the difficulty scale. Whether it's just multiple enemies you have to fight, you can't see anything, there's poison types, or like the enemies are resistant to your main weapon that you've been using the whole game with. Whatever it is, they just do such a good job at humbling you. And I just got a little bit humbled. I thought I was a little bit further than that. But,
I could be wrong. I've not beat the game, but yeah, we will see. I'm very excited to hear.
yeah,
You
I'll
finished
definitely
that
update you because I'm feasting. I'm feasting
Okay.
right now. I can't wait to get back into it.
Yeah, and I don't think there's anything coming out soon that you're like picking up new wise. So maybe you're just gonna be chipping away at that backlog and
Yeah,
finishing these games you've been working on.
Yeah, the one that was kind of in the crosshairs is just Death Stranding 2. That's in June or
Yeah.
July. One of those
June.
two.
June, yeah.
That's kind of the only thing in the crosshairs right now. So yeah,
Okay.
it's a good time to do that because there's many things on my backlog that I've not finished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Cool. I'm excited to hear how that journey goes, and I don't know, maybe you getting through Crystal Caves will maybe you can give me some tips, and then I'll be
Yeah.
inspired to go back. And I'm sure my save is still there, so I could probably jump back in and try and beat it. But goddamn, that game's frustrating at times.
But still, it's amazing and it's beautiful in and of itself,
Yes.
even though it's terrible. And the
World
soundtrack's
design, level
phenomenal.
design,
Yeah.
insanely good. Yeah,
Yeah.
ridiculously good.
With a kick. Doesn't have a dedicated kick button, but it's like
Right.
forward R1, I think, is the kick.
Yeah,
So
something like that.
It's kind of a
Okay.
button.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Cool.
kick a lot. I abuse the kick. It's really
Nice.
effective.
I love that for you. Me too. In any game that gives me a kick, I will abuse the heck out of it. Kirklin, this was a fun time. Thank you for joining me. As I said, next week's episode is actually going to be this week's second episode. We're going to cover the Nintendo Switch 2 Direct. Hopefully there's some exciting news in there. We're going to have a whole new console to be talking about in just a few days, so that'll be very exciting. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you then. Bye-bye.
Bye.